Good evening, everyone. This is Deputy Chief Dwayne Preston with City of Bowie Police Department. Just give us a couple more minutes. We're going to give people an opportunity to get on, maybe running a couple minutes late before we get started. So we'll get started in just a couple more minutes. All right, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dwayne Preston. I'm the Deputy Chief of Police with the City of Bowie Police Department. I'll be the moderator for tonight's town hall meeting for Council District 2, even though this meeting is open to any resident that would like to participate. And before we get into the information tonight, what I would like to take as an opportunity for the panelists to introduce themselves. I will start first with Chief John Nesky. Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am going to be very brief as I don't want to stand in the way of good conversation and good information. We're very glad you're here. This is a series of virtual town halls based upon districts to try to increase our communication and our information flow with our residents. Sometimes if you're not part of an HOA or you don't have a board that we have a one-person contact, it's tough to get two-way conversations, but we're going to cover that in a little bit. I just want to welcome you and look forward to sharing information.
Thank you, Chief. Lieutenant Rose.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Rose. I'm the commander of the Patrol Division. Thank you all for coming out and spending some time with us. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director, Mr. Jose Aldayuz.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. This is my first town hall, and I'll be talking about an issue that's of interest that refers to traffic calming measures in the process. It's very nice to be here.
All right, we're going to be respectful of everyone's time this evening. So what we're going to do is jump right into the presentation. What we're going to ask is that if you have any questions that you would like for us to address either to the police department or to our public works, please feel free to put those in the chat function in the Q&A, and we'll get to those questions at the conclusion of the PowerPoint presentations, and we will try to cover all of those questions before the conclusion of tonight's meeting. So let's get started. The Bowie Police Department has been authorized with 67 sworn officers. And that may seem like a lot of officers, but that 67 it does not account for some of the vacancies that we have, some of the injuries that we have to our officers, command staff members, investigators, and all that. So we have basically the officers that you see on a day-to-day basis, which we call our patrol officers, is about 41 officers is what we currently have that patrol the city of Bowie 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that meaning that we have some vacancies, and that means that we are hiring and we're looking for people that care about this community and want to serve. We realize that the law enforcement profession has gone through some scrutiny and some challenges over the last couple of years, but we stand, committed to serving this community. One of the things that the chief and I pride ourselves on is the fact that our police department, while not perfect, our officers really care about our community and work every single day to try to provide for the needs of our community. And so, we're really proud of that, that this police department has been built. We're on that service with integrity model. And as I said before, we're not perfect, but we strive for that each and every day. And so we'll get into more information on recruitment and some of the incentives that we have. The chief will speak to that a little later in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna now turn it over to Lieutenant Rose. He's going to talk about the crime that does impact the community and how you can help. Lieutenant Rose.
Thank you, Chief. So as we all know, Bowie isn't impervious to crime, unfortunately, try as we may. We do our best with what the resources that we have. And I think overall, comparatively, we're in a pretty safe city. The biggest crime and issues that we see in our city right now are quality of life crimes, mainly property crimes, theft from autos, and cars being stolen. That seems to be the number one thing that we're facing right now. Some of the things that we see are vehicles that are unlocked and folks are leaving items value inside the vehicles. And in some circumstances, there are folks that are actually leaving their keys inside the vehicle and providing the opportunity for these folks to steal the car as well. That is the main issues that we're seeing right now in the city as far as crime goes. Some of the things that we would ask, as by way of partnership with our community is helping us out by removing those items and keeping your key, or remembering to keep your keys with you and not leaving the keys inside the vehicle. I know from a convenience standpoint, a lot of folks like to leave the keyless key fobs inside their cars for convenience. However, that does provide an opportunity for folks to just jump on in, because you can't lock the car if you leave the remote key fob inside the vehicle. So that just gives them the opportunity to open the door, jump in, press on the brake, hit the button, and then drive off with your car. With that being said, our partnership with the community is what's led us to our greatest successes by way of deterring and fighting crime. And if you want to, I'm freelancing a bit, Chief. If you want, you can switch to the next slide, which brings us to impact. This is an initiative that we've begun, which is Information Matters, Police and Community Together. And what we've seen by way of successes is when we work collaboratively with the community, that lends us the best results. You all, as an additional set of eyes and ears, feeding information to us, real live information, we can get officers to respond as quick as possible to either deter or make an apprehension if crimes are occurring. And we're trying to continue that effort by, pushing this initiative forward to everyone and encouraging everyone. If you see something, say something, contact us, don't hesitate. Provide us that information, as the sooner the better. That way we can have officers respond to those locations and hopefully prevent or again, make an apprehension if it's necessary. And with that said, I'll pass it off to the chief.
Thanks, Lieutenant Rose. And just to elaborate further on what Lieutenant Rose said, the way in which you can help through impact is we're seeking volunteers. We want people that are committed to their community. And the reason that we decided to have several town hall meetings and break it down by district is because we want to specifically target the HOAs in the neighborhoods for each district and appeal and develop a core of volunteers that will represent every single subdivision within the city. If we can put together a good list of communication where we can email and share information with you on an ongoing basis, and you have a mechanism to share that information back to the police department, that way we have a pulse of exactly what's going on in each and every neighborhood throughout the city. So we are going to be seeking volunteers that will be willing to do that. good old fashioned neighborhood watch, but not in the traditional sense where we're actually asking people to patrol the neighborhoods, but we are asking people to look out and pay attention to what goes on in the neighborhood. And when you see something, we're not asking you to confront anything. We're just asking you to call us, tell us that something doesn't look right, pay attention to those things, look out for your neighbors, get to know your neighbors and know what's going on. One of the things as we enter into this holiday season is an increase in parcel thefts and package thefts. And this is key, it's one of the important things. I know Chief Nesky did a video recently on how to prevent those things or to safeguard your property as it relates to packages being delivered. So I encourage you to look at our Facebook page and other social media outlets to get that video so you can share that information so that you're not a victim of crime during this holiday season. And we want to reiterate again to lock your cars. Lieutenant Rose spoke about the key fobs. Most of the stolen vehicles that we are experiencing within the city are vehicles that are stolen because the key fobs were left within the vehicles. It makes it extremely difficult for us, and it's really, really driving crime. I believe that most of the suspects that are coming are looking to commit stolen theft from auto, but by your vehicles being left open, by chance they're seeing if they can also start your vehicle. And if the key fobs are left in the vehicle, it makes it very easy for them just to drive off with your vehicle. So we're asking, please remove those key fobs and make sure that they're secure inside your home, far enough away from the vehicle that signal is not in close proximity to your vehicle. And again, block your vehicles, remove the valuables from plain sight. So I'm gonna turn it over to Chief Nesky, and he's gonna talk to you about the community events and resources that we have going on in the city, as well as some of the recruiting efforts that we're undertaking. Chief Nesky.
Thank you. And one of the things that, even with the pandemic, we're trying our best to keep reaching people and to keep trying to connect and interact with people. Just a little bit more about impact and why we think it's important. Impact, we're trying to create a feedback loop. Oftentimes, our communication is one directional. That means you call something to us or we put out something to you, but there's never a connection between the two. We want to be able to say, you called us on this bit of information. Here's what we did with it. Here are the results. The results were good, the results were bad, or there were no results and we needed to find another solution to it. So that's what we're looking for, is to keep that loop going. Lieutenant Rose had mentioned how important you are in this process. When we talk about thefts from auto, we had some in the B section a couple of months ago, and we were able to reduce the impact of that because we had a resident in the B section call us, and we were there within probably 1 or 2 minutes, if that. So it's very important. Deputy Chief talked about vacancies. We do have a lot of vacancies. We are kind of shorthanded, but that just makes it all the more important for you to be our eyes. We are there to respond, but with the numbers we have at the moment, we're not going to be able to see everything and catch everything. Even if we were fully staffed, it's a big city, we're not going to see everything. We need you to participate. And part of that participation is the security camera rebate system that we have. We are currently offering $50 of rebate off of any security camera that you buy. The only thing that has to do is it has to be, of course, within the city limits, and it has to be pointed facing outward. We don't want to see what's going on in your living room, what's going on in your basement. We need to see what's going on outward. So what we're finding is it's a great, not only proactive tool. If you see someone on your porch getting ready to take a package, or you see someone that's suspicious, it's also great for evidentiary value after the fact. When we do our canvases, we look to see who has video. We can catch vehicles coming in, going out, suspects, things of that nature. So the more cameras we have out there, the better off everyone's going to be. Also, we offer our Citizens Academy. We encourage people to come and sit with us for 13 weeks, 1 night a week, and we teach you what we do. We go over the whys and the philosophies behind both the department and the way we operate. And it's not just a rah-rah session and we're awesome and we tell you how great we are. We have the conversations. We want conversations. We give the information, you digest it, and then give us your opinion. Your opinion counts. I was part of a panel on residents' feedback and the importance of it. And the very first thing is the entire panel agreed, citizen input should be the driving factor when you talk about how we set our goals and how we set our strategic plans. The resident input has always been so important to us. Even since we first started, we had an initial plan and we changed that plan many times based upon citizen feedback and our needs of the community. So you do play an integral part, and we'd love to have you in our Citizens Academy. We also are doing a Shop with a Cop. That is this Sunday. We are still in need of donations. We had a few big sponsors that dropped out on us this year for various reasons. We have upwards of 80 children that we're trying to get to participate. And we are still looking for donations to make that happen. So please, you can send a cash if you want to drop by. You can send a check made out to City of Bowie in the memo line, write Shop with a Cop. I know a lot of us don't like to write paper checks anymore, but we're working on an electronic version maybe for next year. But right now it's still cash or paper checks. We also have Police Explorers. One of the very first things we did was set up our police post 1916. 1916 is not an accidental number. It's the year that the City of Bowie was incorporated. In fact, we have a room full of explorers right behind me going through the Toys for Tot boxes and separating things and putting them together. So it's good community services for people from 14 to 20 years old. It not only teaches them about law enforcement, it just teaches them about being a good member of the community, a good citizen and a good steward of the community. And it talks about service. So if you have a 14 to 20-year-old that might be interested, please send them our way. We'll be happy to have them. We also started a program called Trading Places. Right now, I think we've done one session at Bowie High School, but it's open to anybody who wants to participate. We'd love to come out to different churches or different neighborhoods or whatever else that you would have us. And that is where we switch roles. So you become the officer and we become the resident. And when we look at things from a different point of view, it helps everybody. You see where we're coming from. We see where you're coming from. So comments that we think are innocuous and make sense may be taken in a different context when you're on the other side of the encounter, and vice versa. So it's a very, very good program. It's very productive. We also have a new crime map up on our website. You'll see that in the background on the side of the screen. That is a up-to-date crime map that is specific to the City of Bowie. And you can search historically. I think it's up to maybe 2018, 2017 right now, but it's going to go back to 2007 eventually. They have to load all that data in. But you can check by streets, you can check by type of incident and find out what's going on in your neighborhood in a more direct fashion. Again, giving you access to more information. Along those lines, we also have some ways that we are reaching you now. We have Alert Bowie. Alert Bowie is for the entire city. So you can choose what kind of alerts you want, whether you want just road closures or crime alerts or anything else. You have a variety of things that how you want to be notified, when you want to be notified, and about what topics. We also are on Facebook and Twitter. So one of the things that we're hoping to accomplish in this forum is to have people let us know the best way to get a hold of you. I'm not that young. And so when my generation usually gets to a piece of social media or platform, that means the younger folks are jumping off. Remember when grandma got the Facebook account and all of a sudden everybody went to Instagram or they went to Snapchat or some other kind of forum. So every day there's a new kind of platform. We need to know the best way to reach you. So please keep that in mind when you're talking to us. Go ahead and do a slide there, Deputy Chief. So we also talked about staffing shortages and what are we going to do about it? What are we trying to do about it? It's a tough time for recruiting. It is nationally, given the national conversation on law enforcement and given some of the negative perceptions about law enforcement nationally. I am very proud to say that we don't have that here. Our community is by and large very, very supportive of us, and we work very hard to earn that support. So we are doing signing bonuses for the applicants. If you are hired and you complete the academy, you can get from a $3,000 to a $9,000 bonus. That is dependent upon education, years of experience, and other factors. We also are giving recruitment bonuses. So what does that mean? That means if you in the community send us someone who gets hired, they make it through the academy, we will send you $500. Why are we doing that? Are we that desperate? Yes, we're that desperate. But the other piece of that is, who knows more of the qualities that you want to see in your officers than you? We're trying to make the community a source of recruitment because you know the type of officer you want in your community. We know the type of officer we want and the type of officer we screen for, but you know that as well. So you know these people that have good de-escalation skills, are personable, are honest, have high integrity. Send them to us. That person may be sitting on your couch right now playing Xbox. If that's the case, give them the application, get them to us. Not only will they get off your couch, but you get $500 at the end of the academy. So please help us fill these slots, help us provide better service for you. It is a very, very good job. The city is a good place to work. We have triple time on the holidays, which is unheard of for government work. We have a defined 25-year pension, which is also very hard to come by nowadays. So we have a lot of good things to offer somebody. If you have someone who's maybe not interested in being an officer, but they're still interested in working for us, we're also hiring dispatchers. Our dispatchers are an integral part of our department. They take the calls, they enter the calls in the computer, and they dispatch our officers. They're our lifeline for our officers. And they're also our first people that come in contact with someone who's in trouble. So we need the same high quality people in our dispatch office. Lastly, you can visit our website for details. It's www.cityofbowie.org/police. We have the litany of things on there for you, not only about recruitment. We have crime stats. We have our videos and links to videos for my chief chats. We have links to every other things that we have going on, crime alerts, missing person alerts, things of that nature. There's a wealth of information both on our social media pages and on our website. Our crime analyst does weekly updates on the stats. So if you're not following us on social media, you've got to come to the website I think it's every Wednesday, to look at the stats for the previous week. And I think I've covered everything I got to cover there, Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And so, as we wrap our part of the presentation up, what we want to do is really reiterate again how important it is for us to maintain a partnership and enhance the partnership we have with you all. It is impossible for us to effectively do our job unless we have an open dialogue with the community in which we serve. One of the things is that we need information from our community to know exactly how you want to be policed, what things are important to you, what matters to you. We have an idea. We have many officers that have many, many years of experience, and we believe we have an idea of what's important, but it's important for us to hear from the community because we want to make sure that we're on the same page. And so if I'm speaking to you and some of the things that we shared tonight are important and you really want to help and get involved, we are looking for volunteers to be that conduit of information, to be able to share information with your neighborhood and your community, to maybe volunteer to help us with community events that we're conducting. The more people we are using you all as a force multiplier, as our officers cannot be everywhere at all times. One of the things that we realize is that the city is very large, nearly 19 square miles. That's a lot of area to cover with the patrol officers that we have. And so as many people we have that are out looking around in the community, knowing what's going on, what belongs, what doesn't look right, the more people we have looking, the safer the city of Bowie can be. So if that is you and you're interested, there'll be more information as we conclude all 4 of these town hall meetings, that as we enter into 2022, we'll be bringing everyone together in a format that would like to volunteer, and we'll share more information as to how that will be structured what the expectations will be, what access to information that you will have, and what we're actually asking you to do. So I'm hopeful that that sparks some interest from someone that's attending tonight that would be willing to volunteer. I know we got a few volunteers from the first town hall meeting that we hosted last week. So we're hoping to continue to build that core of people. So if that is you, the email address that we would like you to send your information to, your contact information, is right on the screen. It's impact, IMPACT, at cityofbowie.org. Again, impact at cityofbowie.org. So I'm hopeful to continue our dialogue with you. We will do questions and answers, but right now I am going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to turn it over to our Public Works Director, who's going to share information about speed studies and how to request that information from the Department of Public Works.
Okay, Deputy Chief, can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Jose Aldayuz. I am the Director of the Public Works Department for the City of Bowie. I'm recently hired. I started this wonderful job in September 7th. And I have a short presentation, but I want to endorse the very important presentation that the police department just made for all of you, and kind of made me want to apply to be a police officer, but unfortunately, I'm not of age. So anyhow, pretty much what I'm going to talk about it is pretty much the City of Bowie traffic calming policy. And I hope I have pretty much outlined. I have not many slides. We're going to talk about what is it, what are its objectives, what is the process to get an evaluation, and pretty much how does the city evaluate the results. In terms of what is it, there's a combination of physical measures that reduce the negative effect of motor vehicle use. Pretty much deals with non-compliant drivers and non-compliant driving behavior, and improve conditions for non-motorized street users, but also motorized street users that are compliant with speed and everything else, and all the traffic rules. This traffic calming strategies consist of a variety of techniques to alter routes, to alter driving habits, to institute operational characteristics, and even modes of travel within residential areas. There has to be an objective for this. It's pretty much what we're trying to do is promote conditions that provide safe neighborhoods for everyone, be it motorists, bicyclists, pedestrians, children, especially in all residents, while maintaining access and services. Second objective is to improve the neighborhood livability and encourage adherence to speed limit. That's pretty much the calming portion of it, and foster a collaborative working relationship between neighborhood residents, the city staff, being the Department of Public Works and the police department, and the development of traffic calming measures. We want to educate the public in pretty much in terms of enforcement and engineering and give education. Those are the 3 E's of traffic calming. We also want to have the objective of efficiently use public resources based on need. And we will periodically evaluate the policy to ensure the goals are being met. One of the things that segue in November of 2008, the Bowie City Council voted to adopt the traffic calming policies established by Prince George County, but by the way, were adopted in January of that year. So in order to strive for consistency, it is a good idea to have the same policy at the county-wide level. And in terms of the process, all requests should come from the homeowners association. But in the event that a particular neighborhood doesn't have an HOA, then requests should be made to the local council representative. Since September, I think I had already about 8 requests to do this, and we pretty much get at it fairly quick and give the response. The City of Bowie Department of Public Works conducts then traffic engineering after the request, conducts a traffic engineering study to determine the severity of traffic problems on the street, particular street. And this study entails a point assignment based on 8 parameters. One is the traffic volume. You get a maximum of 30 points. 2 is the speed. 3, traffic accidents. Well, the first 2 are pretty much monitored after the request. We have devices that pretty much register the traffic volume and register the speed in that particular period of time where the study is being done. Then we look at the history of traffic accidents, and that has 30 points maximum. I saw that there is a question about one of the questions that are in the Q&A is pretty much deals with the 4th parameter, that is if it is an elementary school or playground on the street, that has a maximum of 10 points. If the particular street is a major pedestrian generator, you get a maximum of 5 points. If there's this sidewalk, it should read lack of sidewalk. So if you don't have sidewalks, then you get the assign is 10 points. Limited sight distance in terms of the ability, it could be vertical or horizontal alignment. So drivers can have a limited sight distance to brake, and then an assign of 5 points. And if it is cut to traffic, then you get 10 points. So what do we do to evaluate the results? Pretty much after you get the point assignment, if you get less than 50 points, then that means that the particular street does not qualify for traffic calming measures. If to qualify for level 1 measures, the street has to get at least 50 points. And there are 3 different type of solutions that are available under this level. One is the special awareness program, and that consists of having organized groups of citizens with signs that says 25 miles is okay, reduce the speed, please, and stuff, positive messages. The second one are special pavement markings, and the third one is signs, included speed limit signs. So it could be a combination, all 3 or some of them. In terms of level 2 measures, then the street has to have at least 60 points. And this is more involved, and it could the measures are one-way streets, prohibit turns, install speed humps, and I think I got one-way streets twice. And then you get traffic circles, roundabouts, semi-diverters, and chokers. So those are the engineering solutions if the particular street reach at least 60 points. And the highest one is the level 3 measures, where when the points require 80 points. So you get a diagonal diverters and full closures. So pretty much you close the particular street to traffic. I think that's all I have. Hopefully there is an interest, or if there are any questions, I'll just wait and see if I can answer. Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Aldayuz. So I got to get that together. So.
Well, yeah, that's okay. That's
Oh,
okay.
it's new. So
remember Alan Alda and not use at the end. Aldayuz.
Aldayuz. Okay. So all right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open it up an opportunity for to address some of the questions. So if I noticed some questions have already been placed in the Q&A chat. And so if there are other questions, please continue to submit those in that box, and we'll try to get to everyone's questions. I know that Bethany, who is our crime analyst, has answered a lot of those already for you, for those that have some very specific questions. But I'm going to ask our Public Works Director to maybe talk a little bit about this question as it relates to elementary school. And I think that from the police department, we can also answer part of it. So the question is that Tulip Grove Elementary School often has traffic and pedestrian issues that impact residents living directly across or beside the school. The question reads, can the Bowie Police Department provide occasional presence during drop-off and pick up to keep traffic in line? What about speed humps to slow traffic in front of the school? So I'm going to ask the Public Works Director to answer the part about the speed humps, and then we'll address the issue about presence.
Mr. Hudson, thank you for posing this question, and that's a very good one. I'm not familiar with Trainer Lane, but in the city website, my email address and number is there. So if you don't have a homeowners association, then contact your council member, and through him or HOA, you can request a traffic study to be done to see if a solution will, if Trainer Lane qualifies for the traffic calming measures of installing the speed bumps.
All right, thank you. And I'm going to ask Chief Nesky to address the issue about police presence before occasional presence during drop-off and pickup. Chief Nesky.
Sure. First, I need to clarify one thing with Jose. We do not have an age restriction. So you did not age out of being a police officer.
Oh, okay.
All you got to do is pass the physical.
Oh, well, that's the problem.
So anybody, anybody listening as well, we do not have an age restriction as long as you are physically fit and can pass the PT test and the physical. So to get to the trainer question in the school, we have a lot of schools in the city. So while we can't have a continuous presence, what I'll do is we will bring that over to community services and have them put that on a rotation, have them reach out to the school to also possibly send communication to the parents to be respectful and mindful when they're picking up and dropping their kids off. Oftentimes, parents get into time management mode where they just stop in any possible spot they can find. I'm only gonna be here a couple minutes. They don't think about the residents or the neighborhood. So we can attack that twofold. We can ask the principal of the school to put something out to parents, and we can also do the occasional, I won't say enforcement per se, because sometimes just a little friendly reminder is enough. We kind of try to go the way of, if we can avoid an enforcement and a nice conversation, we'll get the same thing done. We'll start there. If somebody, there are people who need tickets now. So if somebody needs a ticket, we'll be happy to give it to them. But we will try the educational approach first. And I will follow up with Lieutenant Knott and Community Services and have them come out and both talk to the principal and do some pop-up education and enforcement.
All right, thank you, Chief. And what I'm gonna do is address blanketly about speeding. One of the most common complaints that we get throughout the city is speeding. And so just from that standpoint, the city of Bowie has always participated, or for the last several years participated with the speed awareness program by the way of speed cameras. But that was primarily focused on school zones and school areas, as that was the law at the point in time. This past legislative period, that law has been expanded to include residential areas where the maximum 35 miles per hour is the maximum speed limit for residential streets, in which speed enforcement can be conducted electronically. So we have been engaging not only our vendor, but looking for other vendors that may be able to expand our speed awareness program to address those issues. As we are aware that it's a significant issue. But in the meantime, we do conduct speed enforcement. We have a traffic officer that is dedicated 100% of his time to doing traffic enforcement. Obviously, one person throughout the entire city is not enough. Our patrol officers also conduct speed enforcement. So what I would say to everyone is this, is that if you have requests for speed enforcement, please send that information to the email address that we shared earlier, impact@cityofbowie.org, so we can assign those complaints to our patrol officers and our traffic officer to periodically do speed enforcement on those particular roadways. It is a serious concern, but the only way we're going to know about it is if you share that information and the specific concerns, and be as specific as you can when you're sharing the information. Date, time of day, day of the week. If you have more specific information about details, description of vehicles, if it's a particular vehicle, share whatever information you have possible. The more information that we have, regardless of type of incident that you're calling us, allows us to be most effective by having a more detailed information. So, Bethany, are there other significant questions that we need to address?
I can read too, actually.
Jose, you want to handle the lifespan or the lifespan of a speed study?
Pretty much, I'm not reading that. I'm reading a question from Mr. or Ms. Billings, Dale Billings. It says, what streets qualify for traffic assessment? And the answer to that is the policy doesn't negate or discriminate against any street. The only requirement is that you ask your HOA to submit that or your council member, because they are the ones that are aware of the problems, and so that's the way to do it. So the answer is there's no restriction. As long as the HOA or the council member requests it, we have to do it. In terms of how long it takes, it is pretty much a week to install. It's a really unnoticeable device that we install pretty much in a light pole or other location, and that registers the traffic volume and also the speed.
Jose, I think there's one more out there for you. Shelf life of a speed study. One was done 2 years ago on Trainer, and while the school is being built, and can they get one after the school, since the school's finished now?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lally, yes, actually, I'm in a very good position to do that, because we have, by request of the HOA, we did a study in 2019 for Kendall Lane, and 2 years after, another request came in, and we redid it. So and I think that if the school, especially if the school was not taken into account, I will pretty much recommend to Mr. Lally to contact the HOA or the council member and ask for a study, and we'll be more than glad to conduct it.
All right, thank you. The next question is, does our PD put extra enforcement efforts where there is traffic calming is installed? And I wouldn't say that we put extra enforcement efforts in those areas. I think what we do is based upon the complaints that we receive or the areas that we know to be frequent locations throughout the city where we've had high incidents of accidents or speeding complaints is where we tend to focus. And again, what we would like to do is through exchanging information, having a direct dialogue with the community, we really want to enhance that list to know which areas that are important to you, that you feel that there's speeding going on. Sometimes we'll come out and we'll assess it, and we really don't determine that their actual speeding is going on in a particular area. But I think what's important, and Chief Nesky mentioned this earlier, is that we provide that feedback. Oftentimes we get the complaint, but we really don't have a good way to share information about the results back with you. And that's where we want to really bring that communication loop together, is to make sure we share not only that we went out, how often we went out, and what our findings were, but the only way in which we're going to do that is by receiving that information from you. Okay. The next question from Mr. Buck is, are officers assigned to a neighborhood? I don't see the officers that used to patrol the district. The area near Bowie High School needs the presence of officers before and after school. So, Ms. Roebuck, I'm gonna start the answer, and then I'm gonna ask Lieutenant Rose to address that. All our officers are assigned to what we call a beat, which encompasses a number of neighborhoods. As we say, we have an average of, we have a patrol squad, but we're limited in terms of the amount of geographical locations that we are covering. As I mentioned, the city is almost 19 square miles. And also to add to that, demand for calls for service is the first priority for our patrol officers. The area around Bowie High School is well known to the police department. We spend a significant amount of time patrolling that area during school hours as we're dealing with the issue of truancy and loitering and other issues that we commonly see. I know we just had an incident earlier this week surrounding the Bowie High School, which resulted in arrest, but we frequent that area. So I'm gonna ask Lieutenant Rose if he would expound on that a little bit, and then we'll do some other questions. Lieutenant Rose.
Yeah, Chief. Well, you pretty much hit it right on the head. I mean, we do saturate that area quite frequently when we do have the resources available. If patrol officers aren't required to, if they're not servicing a call for service, then generally they normally gravitate towards that area anyway, just because they know that there are, the high schoolers tend to, cut classes and things of that sort, and they gravitate towards that area just to be visible. In addition to that, both the annex and the high school have SROs there as well. So they are there during the day and they're there during dismissals. Again, as the chief mentioned, and I hate to keep hitting this point as well, resources tend to be the issue. I mean, as officers are available, we try to be where we are needed at all times. But unfortunately, there are times where we are stretched pretty thin and we're not able to be at all places at all times. But if there's an immediate issue, I can't reiterate this enough. If you see something going on or something that that may be a potential issue, don't hesitate to call us, and that'll get us there as quick as possible, and hopefully we can mitigate any issues.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Chief Nesky, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, the follow-up, Joe covered, Lieutenant Rose covered a lot of the point is we do have officers assigned to beats, but oftentimes if there's a two-person call, they have to leave that beat to go back up the other officer. And there are a good amount of two-person calls that take up the officer's time, but they always try to get back to their assigned beats when they do. The follow-up was, if you see a student cutting class, should you contact the police? Yes. We'll be happy to come out. Sometimes that student has a half day and sometimes they're cutting class. If they're cutting class, we'll take them back to the high school, let the high school, deal with them with the discipline. But this goes back to building that expectation. So please call if the students are cutting class and they're in a specific area and we keep getting calls and we come to that area. they're going to find someplace else to be. I don't think we can never really get them to stop doing it, but we can at least keep them out of certain areas and at least make them go home and sit inside or do something else besides congregating and doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Thank you, Chief. Next question is, my HOA is very concerned about speeding on High Bridge Road and on Route 450. How can we get more attention brought to this concern? That particular area, it depends on what part of High Bridge Road to make sure it's within the incorporated city of Bowie. But we can, by you bringing it to our attention, is the way that we want to do that. We can put that on the list for increased enforcement in those areas along 450 and also on High Bridge Road. One of the things that we determined that information is outside, or that portion of the roadway is outside of the City of Bowie limits. We do have good working relationships with Prince George's County Police Department. And we will reach out to the commander, Major Durham, to see if he can lend us some support and help in those particular areas.
So it looks like we have a possible compliment. We'll share that as well, that Ms. Hernandez does appreciate our presence in the morning by the annex on Bel Air. And again, we try to get to the areas as much as we can. Sometimes it's a moving target, but we do appreciate it when we do something right and somebody notices it. So thank you.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Aldayuz. I'm gonna get it. I'm working on it. There's a question about speed studies that are on county roads, i.e. 197 or Route 450. So if you can speak to that about the process in order to get a speed study done on those roadways.
Well, if they're county roads, the policy applies to county roads, but instead of sending the request to us, they have to send it to the county. And I'm not sure I understand, and forgive me about this because I'm fairly new, but I understand, maybe I thought that Route 197 and Route 450 are overseen by the
Those are state. Those are state roadways. Yeah,
so
you're correct. Those are state.
So I really am not familiar with what the state policy is, but I know the county because we adopted the counties. So I cannot answer to that. So pretty much they will have to refer this question to the State Highway Administration.
And you're absolutely right. I overlooked that myself. Those are state roadways. There are some roadways that are county roadways, but I think you spoke exactly what the process would be for the roadways as well. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome, Chief.
Okay. Looks like we've run out of questions. Any other questions? If you have some questions, please feel free to share them in the chat. We want to try to address and answer every question that you possibly have. Okay, while we are waiting that, I just want to reiterate again, Chief Nesky mentioned earlier about the best way in which for us to communicate to the members of the community. I know a lot of the neighborhoods utilize the app next door, but it's difficult for the police department to manage each of those accounts, as since you have to be invited in as being part of that neighborhood. We cannot necessarily see all of the information that's being shared within those particular groups. And so that's part of the reason why we're really seeking volunteers from each HOA, because that would allow us to have some insight in terms of the specific concerns to each neighborhood about crime and about traffic complaints and things of that sort. That is information that we're just not aware of. So again, that's the purpose of us really looking for soliciting that information. One of the other things, if you want to share information with us or request service from the city of Bowie, and this is not just specific to the police department, that just this request service is by utilizing public stuff. That is an app that is available through the City of Bowie website, where you can put in, if you have a concern about trash dumping, about speed study, about crime or speed enforcement, it will route it to the right department. You will be provided a response on that in terms of what action will be taken And that's a very good way for you to get a hold of the city as it relates to services that you are requesting. Okay. Somebody asked, Mr. Ballman asked a question about regarding crimes. Is there any report of crimes solved? Currently, we don't put out any information on unless there's something very specific. Sometimes we will do a press release on something that's very significant. If we have a violent crime or something like that of significance, there are times when we may put out a press release announcing the closure of a very specific crime. But if there's something that you're most concerned about or you have an interest in, feel free to give us a call and we'll share the details of the things that we've investigated and hopefully brought to closure. Hopefully that answers your question.
To expand on that just a bit, when we go in front of the council biannually, I think it's maybe February and then October, we do talk about our closure rates for our detectives. So it is measured in those when we do put those council packets out.
Okay. Okay. All right. We have our business operations manager who placed a comment that and what she said was regarding routes 197 and 450 are state highway administration jurisdiction. And you can reach out to District 3. You can also reach out to her by email, and her email address is mbazurto, BAZURTO @cityofbowie.org to help. And she will help you to reach out to the State Highway Administration for any concerns that you have as it relates to speed issues on state highways. Thank you, Maddie. We also have Miss Liz. I'm not going to, attempt your last name because I haven't been doing a good job with that tonight. So she shared a comment. She wants to thank all of us for taking the time to hold these town halls. She appreciates the information that we shared here this evening. And we, again, appreciate you all spending time with us this evening and to hear about the things that we're doing in the PD. We continue to want to partner with you. We do many community events. Obviously, COVID has impacted our ability to do the number of community events we like to, but we continue to push forward, have a presence in the community, working with not only the adults in our senior community, but our youth. We want to work with all segments of the community as we are a part of the community. The police department is a part of your community. We know that you all appreciate us. We see that in our waistline sometimes from the many treats and donations of food that you drop off to us at the station. We really appreciate that. And it is our desire on a daily basis that we show you how much we appreciate you and the service that we all provide. Again, Ms. Dymick says she appreciates the time we've taken to answer your questions. And she says she has a question about the crime map. So Ms. Dymick, if you want to share that question, and we will do all we can to provide you an answer to that question about the crime map.
We forgot that, DC.
What's that, Chief?
Del, we forgot to mention the Public Safety Committee. I'm going to let you handle that.
All right. We do want to mention that we do have a Public Safety Committee, which is made up by volunteer members of our community. We meet on a monthly basis, the fourth Wednesday of every month. These meetings are open to the public. Due to COVID, we've only been meeting virtually. Those links are posted on the website on the calendar. And many areas of public safety are discussed by this committee. It's not only police, fire and EMS issues, but also emergency management, things that are just public safety concern to the residents. They do a very good job of representing the city, and they're looking to enhance the impact that they have by bringing resources that would be beneficial to all of the residents here in the city of Bowie. Ms. Diamond, about the crime map, the 17,000 crimes that are listed right now, that data only goes back to 2018 until present. We are continuing to import information to populate that map. that will go back to the inception of the police department, but that's going to take some time in order for that to be complete. And so if you have any specific questions, please send us an email to the impactthecityofbowie.org with those specific questions. And we'll make sure that our crime analyst gets in touch with you and she can answer the very specific questions that you have about the information, how it's displayed, and what is available.
So just to real quick, put that crime map also in perspective. For 2020, we ran 38,562 calls for service. Not all of those generated reports, not all of them were crimes, but that can give you an estimation of the numbers that we're looking at in the aggregate over the years. Back to Mr. Bauman's question about data on solved crimes. Just from our detectives have a closure rate of 41%. Now that is a good closure rate, but you have to remember too, those are closure rates based upon crimes that have evidentiary value. So if somebody breaks your window in the dead of night and there's no witnesses, there's no other things that could possibly be solvable to that crime, that's not going to go to the detectives for investigation. It is evaluated. Is there anything of evidentiary value that can help us solve this crime? If it's, like I said, a broken window in the middle of the night, nobody sees anything, there's no evidence on scene, that is not going to be included in that 41% closure rate. So 41% closure rate are things that are assigned to the detectives and that have solvability to them. But it's still a pretty good percentage for things that they're taking a look at. But when you look at the crime map, it's important that you look at what the date range is that you're looking at. So that could be for all those years. And if you look at the 38,562 calls that we ran in 2020, and not all those were crimes and generate reports, but there is a volume that we are responding to each year. Just kind of put it in perspective.
Okay. Ms. Heron asked a question that I'm a foster parent and educator and was wondering if the Bowie police officers speak to foster agencies or teachers about de-escalation strategies. What I will say to you is that we're open to speaking to any and everyone. We want to work in partnership with every possible person that's out there. So if you have a point of contact and would like for us to speak with a specific agency, teachers, I know that recently we did work with, I met with the principal at Bowie High School a few weeks ago. The chief spoke about us conducting the Trading Places program. And that is an effort in de-escalation and understanding the interaction between police officers and our residents, the proper conduct that each should engage in. So we lay out the expectations that we have for our police officers in terms of their adherence to the policies and the laws that exist. We also talk about ways in which our residents should approach an interaction with a police officer. And so these are kind of things, not only that our training and education division have training sessions for officers on an annual basis at a minimum, but we really train more often than that. But some of those things do entail de-escalation strategies. These are things that we engage in all the time. One of the things that, if you look at our website, our annual reports are posted there. One of the things that we take pride in is that we don't have very high numbers of citizen filed complaints against our officers. We actually police ourselves more often than that. And you will see that most of the discipline that we've taken and levied against our officers were things that were initiated by our own supervisors for violations of our policies. We believe that it's important that we hold ourselves accountable. In order to do that, we provide a better service to the residents in which we serve. Somebody asked a question, is the White House Motel permanently closed? I do not know the answer to that. Lieutenant Rose, can you shed any light on that?
It's not in the city. That's
Okay,
that's county jurisdiction.
okay, thank you. All right. Let's see. Okay. Ms. McKay put her email address in there. I'm not sure. You said, please reach out to me. If Ms. McKay, if you can elaborate a little more as it relates to volunteering or some other purpose for reaching out to you, that would be helpful. Mr. Billings, who's the chair of the Public Safety Committee, says thanks to the Bowie Police Department, especially command staff, they are always open to hear from the citizens of Bowie, and often conduct outreach efforts, bike rides, coffee with a cop for a day, etc. Thank you, Dale. We appreciate that. Does our police department interact with Bowie Youth and Family Services to learn cutting-edge strategies to calm a situation down or help individuals with mental health issues? We do look for best practices as it relates to de-escalation, working with those that have mental health challenges, not necessarily specific with Bowie Youth and Family Services. We're part of a consortium of police chiefs throughout Prince George's County. We interact with our state's attorney's office. The county has a Asante group, which is a civilian staff that at times can help and respond with officers when people are suffering with mental health crises. There's training as it relates to de-escalation, being certified in the area of de-escalation. We have officers that have been trained in those issues. We realize the importance that our police officers, while we are called upon to respond to all calls for service because we're always available, we do realize that we do not believe we're the best ones to deal with all situations. We would much rather have someone that is clinically trained to deal with someone that's suffering a mental health crisis, to engage that person, and we can be there to ensure the safety of all those that are involved, but that would be our preference. Okay. All right. So Ms. McKay is offering contact for de-escalation. So if you could send us an email directly, we will be in touch. And I appreciate that offer for your assistance. Are you seeing an escalation in year by years numbers of crimes over the last 5 years? Mr. Ballman asked that question. Chief, you want to answer that?
Yeah, court's indulgence for about 30 seconds while I pull the. All right, so it's going to change year by year, right? So right now, if we look at the burglaries, we go back to 2016 for burglary reports. 2016 was 88, 2017 62, 2018 50, 2019 35. 2020 31, and at the time year to date in August was 19. So each category is going to have that. So right now we're tracking to be about 42% down in burglaries, tracking to about 24% down in commercial burglaries. Assaults, I think we're creeping up just a bit, so we might be down about 40% by the end of the year. So we do track year to year. If we look at assaults, I think we went up and peaked in 2015 and peaked again in 2018 with 216. We had a high of 218 in 2020. So we do look at in the aggregate every year since 2007. We do seem to be tracking down with, of course, the bumps along the road. We had a very bad year in 2017 for auto thefts. And some theft reports. Our worst year was 2019 with 759, but we were down to 364 in August. But we were seeing the numbers start to peak again. We had a rash. So overall, we're trending downward, but we do have the occasional spike within that 5-year span.
Chief, thank you. And one of the things I do want to add, I know earlier we talked about the significant challenge we're having with key fobs and stolen vehicles. And Lieutenant Nod, who is commander of our investigative section, he shared information that in Prince George's County alone, there have been over 865 stolen cars this year where the keys were left in the vehicle. That represents about 28% of all stolen autos. So you can imagine the significant impact that we can have on that number just by people removing the key fobs from their vehicles. Also, this time of year when the weather's cold, resisting the urge and the tendency to warm up that vehicle early in the morning and leaving it running with the keys in the ignition, that's an invitation to someone to steal in your vehicle. Not only is it a violation of the Maryland Transportation article, but it really is just not a practice that you want to engage in because you will be subject to your vehicle being stolen. So again, please, we ask you to partner with us to prevent and reduce the number of stolen autos and also theft from autos. And we appreciate your cooperation with that. This next question is for Chief Neske. Are there any plans to reinstate the RAD program this year, Chief Neske?
Thanks. We did do a COVID-friendly one a couple months ago that was very truncated, but we are looking probably once we get through the holidays, January, February, doing a class depending on what the numbers look like. So yes, the short answer is yes. Send an email. You can send it to the impact if you like, and if you're not already on the wait list or on the notification list for the RAD classes, because they get first crack at registration and they tend to fill up fairly quickly. So please make sure that you are on that notification list directly. Back to stat real quick. Our UCR data is on the website. So if you want to go really dig and do the year by year comparisons, you can do that as well.
Thank you, Chief. Next statement / question is from Langston Clay, who is also a member of our Public Safety Committee. He says, congratulations on the decrease in burglaries. Would you attribute the decrease to more people being home during COVID? We won't contribute to that. We're actually going to take credit for it and say it's our work that's done by our men and women of the police department who diligently go out and patrol on a daily basis. And we will take credit for the reduction. But in all seriousness, we know that throughout the region, most police departments have seen a significant drop off, especially in the early days of COVID, when people were really sheltering in place, staying at home. There was a reduction in many different categories. Unfortunately, that doesn't continue to be the case. We are seeing people out and about. We're starting to see crime to start to uptick again. And so we're asking people, obviously, to be diligent, to pay attention to what's going on in their neighborhoods. As Lieutenant Rose mentioned earlier, if you see something that doesn't fit, that doesn't look right in your neighborhood, please call us. One of the things, I don't know if we shared it, but I'll share it now. If it's an emergency, a crime in progress, something where you're feeling threatened, always it's 911 for those types of calls. We do dispatch our own officers, and we do receive non-emergency calls for service directly. That is the main number to the police department, which is 240-544-5700. Again, 240-544-5700. You cannot bombard us enough. We are here to serve this community. I don't care how minor it is. You are not bothering us. We would rather you alert us of the information and request the service as opposed to ignoring it, and it leads to something that is a greater concern to yourself or someone else in the community. So please, if there's a concern, give us a call so we can come out and check it out and determine if it's anything that is significant. Okay. So last call, I know it's a little after about 8:15. So we again appreciate everyone's time this evening. So we'll stay on for another second or so, a couple minutes to entertain any last calls, last questions that you may have of us. Again, remember, we have 2 additional town hall meetings, one on the 13th. And again, the last one will be on the 16th. So please share this with your neighbors. If they weren't able to join us tonight, they can feel free to log on to one of the 2 remaining meetings. We want as many people on these calls as possible so we can spread the word. Tonight, we have, several participants, but we would like to see this number significantly increase. We want to be able to reach as many people as possible throughout the city, because the more people that are aware of what's going on throughout the community, the safer the city of Bowie can be. So Chief Nesky, those of you, any final comments or remarks?
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you giving up your time because at the end of the day, that is one of the most valuable things that you have. And we appreciate you spending it on us.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Aldayuz, any final comments from you, sir?
No, thank you to you, Deputy Chief, for inviting me, and thank you for all the residents, and I hope to talk to them soon.
Great. And in closing, we want to thank our wonderful IT department for supporting this event. Our crime analyst, Mr. Wright, Lieutenant Rose, and for the wonderful work that he does with the patrol officers. They do an outstanding job of keeping the city safe, and they work diligently day in and day out as all of the members of the police department, both sworn and civilian. So we eagerly want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. We want you to be careful. We do have enhanced patrols out there as you're shopping throughout the city. But again, let's safeguard those packages and things of that sort, and enjoy some time with your family. Look forward to seeing you around. Come out and see us and wave at us or shop with a cop at Bowie Gymnasium this Sunday. We'll be there from about starting at 9 o'clock. We'll be there for a couple of hours. If you want to come and wave, the chief and I, as well as other members of the community services unit, will be there. And we look forward to seeing you throughout the city. Take care.
Night.